So Judge Frulla, we have some very interesting case overlap. Sometimes we have people that come to our courtroom even with eviction cases. I've had couples that are trying to evict each other, and sometimes it's husband and wife, sometimes it's boyfriend and girlfriend. Can you go through the divorce process for us? Because I tell them this is not the court for the divorce. This is general sessions. We don't hear those types of cases. So in circuit court, can you walk us through what's the process for a divorce case?
Sure. So that's a big question, and I'm happy to give the best I can, kind of a high-level overview. So there's several types of divorce. One is what we would call a no-fault or an uncontested divorce, meaning if husband and wife it wasn't working out, they both knew it wasn't working out, and they decided it was better for them to go their separate ways. That's what we call irreconcilable differences, meaning differences that they just can't fix, they're not going to change, and they both agree to in a divorce. The other type, which get more publicity, are what we call grounds divorce, where one party is suing another for a divorce, alleging that there are some grounds for a divorce, like adultery, abandonment, inappropriate marital conduct. So those are kind of the two main types, and they dictate the process. So for example, if it's an uncontested divorce, it can be somewhat of a simple process. And there are forms that people can fill out themselves without the use of an attorney, but there's limits on those. So if you have like a retirement benefits that might be getting split, or if there's real property, meaning a piece of land owned by the couple, you can't use those forms. But if it's a very simple situation, no real property, no retirement benefits, you can go on the state's website. A quick Google search will take you to those forms, and there's one with kids, there's one without kids. Obviously, kids make it more complicated because there's custody, child support, different things like that. But from a general standpoint, in a no-fault divorce, a lot of times people can proceed on their own. They'll file what's called a complaint for a divorce, which is the initial document they file, and then they would file together what's called a marital dissolution agreement. That's referred to as an MDA, and that's where the couple goes through and says, Sally's getting the Lexus, Bob's getting the Ford Ranger. They split up their property, what they decide upon, and then they come before the court on what's called an uncontested docket. And they present the divorce, one side or both sides present it. I look through to make sure everything seems equitable, especially if it involves children. I look at the custody arrangement they've worked out to make sure it's in the best interest of the child. And then if I find it's equitable and in the best interest of the child, I will sign what's called a final decree of divorce, and that is what makes it official. That's the no fault. The at fault, it can get a lot more complicated and more lengthy, and while people don't have to have attorneys, I'd certainly recommend it because there's a lot of areas that can be in dispute.
And this is Inside General Sessions Civil Court. We would love for you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.